Well, it's great to see you, Oralia. You and I are dear friends, and you serve on the board of NAHREP. And you probably know a little bit about this podcast that I'm doing because I'm in a campaign to find ways to close the wealth gap for Latinos in the United States. And as you know, I'm talking to a lot of people who have very different perspectives on how we do that, but it's been really, really fascinating. I personally believe that it's going to require a combination of a handful of things. I think that we're going to need some government participation in this. Government has to commit to this, and they're going to have to invest in this. I also think, and there are some people who disagree with that. There's people who think government just needs to get out of the way. But I think most people agree that we're going to need a lot of capital. I think that if you look at the Latino community and the growth of the Latino community and the size of the community in the United States, you can say that it is the most underinvested segment of our population in the United States. I mean, the amount of investment capital we get for our businesses and other things is just embarrassing. But the third thing we need some gangsters. We need some people who are just kick-ass, that find a way, that get up every morning, that do what comes natural to them and won't let anything get in their way. And I call those folks gangsters, and I call this podcast Govies, Plutes, and Gangsters. I'm not sure which one you are, but maybe a little bit of all three, which is cool as well. So anyways, welcome.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. It's my honor to be sharing this space with you.
Well, you shouldn't be so honored because I'm actually as impressed with you as anybody else that I've encountered, and I've encountered a lot of people, as you know, through NAHREP. And when I got to hear a little bit about your story, as you remember it, I called you up privately. I said, walk me through this whole process because it seems like a little bit too good to be true. But that's really what we're here for. Before we jump into your business career and your own philosophy around wealth building, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and basically how you got to where you are today.
Well, I am one of 6 siblings, 6 children. My mother and my father migrated to the United States at the age of when I was 8. From Purísima. It's a small town, a small village in the state of Durango, Mexico.
Wow.
And we came to, I always believe that life and God have put the right people in my life. And we ended up renting a apartment building from Tom Costaples, who became my business partner, my employer first, and then my business partner, and to me, a father figure and a lifelong
like
mentor.
A life coach or mentor.
Like a lifelong mentor.
And you've talked to me about him a couple of times. So just going back a little bit, you came across when you were 8.
Yes.
And what brought your family here?
The search of a better future.
Wow.
Yes, economics.
I tell that story a lot, It's amazing to me that people don't get that about the Latino community, right? I say, look, Latino immigrants come to this country not because they don't like where they come from. They don't like the food, or they don't like the music, or they don't like the people, right? We love all of that, right?
Yes.
We try to hold on to that. We come to this country for one reason only, for economic opportunity, to create a better life for ourselves and our family. So I don't know why politicians don't get that, because if they understood that, I think they speak to us a little bit differently. But anyways, I digress. Take us from there. So you got here, you went to school here. How did you stumble into the real estate business? Tell me about that.
So the true story is that Tom Costaples was the landlord. And one day he comes, this time I'm the interpreter for the family, right? I'm the one with a little more English.
How old are you?
I think by the time, I'm not sure, I think it was like 15, 16 years old.
Right.
15 when he comes and he tells my mother, asks if she wants to purchase the 4-unit apartment building at 3005 Ruth Avenue in Franklin Park.
He came to her and said, do you want to buy this building?
I'm going to sell it, right? We're his tenants.
I'm going to come to you first.
And I'm going to come to you first. Maria, you've done a great job maintaining it. The landscaping, I have a partner in it.
And he's discussing this through you.
Through me.
Because you could speak
I am the
English.
Interpreter, yes. Louis, my partner, is...
I'm trying to picture this, so
yes.
Go ahead.
So Louis, my partner, decided that we're going to sell this and go buy something bigger. So would you like to buy it? My mom asks, how much? And the price was $105,000.
Okay.
My mother says, tell him thank you, but no thank you.
100,000 probably sounded like a lot of money back then.
105,000 sounded like a lot of money. But we learned after the fact was that Don Lupe, who purchased the property with $7,000, and my mom had $20,000 in the bank.
Wow.
We were just not informed,
Yeah.
right? My mom
Yeah.
could have became the
owner
owner of that property.
and the
We
landlord.
yes,
Right.
and the landlord
Wow.
of that 4-unit. Well, that woke me up. I think that, there's some incidents in life that mark you, and it's what you do with them.
Yep.
I could have gotten
Discouraged.
discouraged or whatever, and I said, oh no. And I saw what kind of car Tom Kostopoulos drove. He had a caddy coming along. He was very well dressed. So that intrigued me, and I said, hey, Tom, how do I...
Wait a minute. You're 15 years old and you're
Yes.
approaching him with this?
15, 16. And I literally approached him and I said, how did you sell real? How do you get this information? And he says, when you're 18, come and talk to me, he said. So when I turned 18, I was going to Triton College at night and working during the day. I graduated from Leiden High School. And I called him and I said, TK, I'm 18. And he says, why don't you come and spend some hours at the office? See what it is. You help me with the reception. And that's what I did.
He offered you a job right away?
Right away.
Oh, my God.
Right away. On my 21st birthday, not only that, I registered for real estate classes at 18. And on the first class, I found out that I had to be 21.
I didn't know that. Yeah, so you had to be
Yes,
21
at that
to get the
time,
license?
you had to be 21 to get
okay,
the license.
okay,
So
right.
I registered for the real estate class, and I found out that I had to be 21, and on my 21st birthday, got licensed and started working.
Were you
for Tom
working in the
Kostopoulos.
office prior to that, but not as
Yes,
not as
correct.
a salesperson? Or
Not
as
as a
licensee?
salesperson,
I got
I
it.
was
Yeah.
doing-
Okay.
yes.
Well, so you were around it, and so you
Yes.
were around it, and you talked to, the agents, and you got to know the business through osmosis, I would imagine.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
That's an amazing experience. So, again, I'm trying to put this all in context because, again, you have an amazing story, and we're going to get to that in a second. But I totally believe that your story is one that can inspire a lot of people because you came from very humble beginnings.
Correct.
People have the perception if you're going to build wealth, you have to have this certain pedigree. You got to go to the right colleges. You got to do, have the right jobs, and that this is for somebody else. When in fact, everybody has the capacity to build wealth if they're willing to be disciplined and work hard. So, all right. So get us to the point. You're an agent now. How did things start off for you?
Let me take one step backwards
Okay,
here.
all right, cool.
I totally forgot to say that I became a homeowner at the age of 18.
So you bought a home at 18?
At the age of 18, I bought my first home.
So you weren't eligible to have a real estate license, but
But I was
nothing could stop you from buying
buying.
a home.
I was working, right?
My gosh.
I was working, needed 2 co-signers, and of course I borrowed the $5,000 from my mother, who I knew had money, because it was a gift from my
How
mom.
many Latinos do we know that live in a very, very humble environment, an apartment building, an old building or whatnot, but have cash stashed away? That's not uncommon, right?
It's not uncommon. It happens all the time.
All the time, yeah.
All the time.
My grandfather passed away, and we found $60,000 in his closet when he passed away. So yes.
Yes, yes. So my mother gifted me the $5,000, and she came to live with me in my home. And my
And where was
sister-
the home?
The home was at 505 Fifth Avenue in Addison, Illinois. Yes.
You don't still own that home, do you?
My brother does.
My
brother does.
I had a feeling. Okay.
My brother owns that home.
Wow. Okay, so you bought a home. Now you're 21 years old. You get your license, and now what?
So now the chase begins. I started working for TK, and I followed everything he told me. Tom Kostopoulos, I call him TK, but I followed everything he told me. He said, "Do this," and
But what did he tell you? Because look, I work with a lot of real estate brokers, right? And I know the industry very, very well, as you know. I've never been a real estate broker myself. I've been a licensee. My business really was in the mortgage side, but I don't really know any brokers who basically taught you, maybe there's some, but taught you what I now know he taught you, which was not just go out there and knock on doors and sell homes.
No.
He had a bigger plan than that.
He sure did. And to this day, he always says, you cannot sell real estate and not put your hands on it, not touch it. You need to own it, right? How can you teach others how to do it if you haven't done it yourself, right? So walk the path.
Walk the path.
Walk the path. Do what it takes. And
that means, I assume, you have to own real estate yourself.
correct.
You can't just be a facilitator of transactions.
Correct. Not just a facilitator. You need to invest. And he made it a personal goal. We would cut a Greek, what they call it, rosca de reyes for a lot of us. It's called the vasilopita. And on the first office meeting of the year, he would bring out the vasilopita, which had some coins, and he would always explain to us what it meant and how that got there.
Oh my gosh.
Right? But we would cut the vasilopita, and he would spread it amongst the agents in the office and say, okay, in a piece of paper, he would hand out with a pen, everybody write me your goals. Four of the goals you're going to make. But one of the goals, the fifth goal, it's already there written. And it's that you...
He already had it written on the
piece of paper.
So he made one of the 5 goals.
One of the 5 goals.
You were only allowed to pick 4 on your own, but he was going to pick the 5th.
The 5th was already on the paper. Or if it wasn't on the paper, we already knew what it was. You buy one investment property, or you buy one real estate property every year. You either sell it, you sell a small one, you go higher, you do some transaction every year. And he said, and it doesn't have to be big. He says, you can go anywhere you want.
So the interesting thing, and again, I don't want to canonize TK, as you call him. You know what that means, right? Make him a saint, but because I'm sure he's a person, right? Yes. But I mean, that didn't benefit him in any direct way, right? And this is my criticism sometimes on real estate brokers and the way they conduct business, right? They want all their agents out there selling because that's what benefits them. They get a piece of that commission, they get ancillary service or whatever the case may be. You can understand why they push you to sell more. But that didn't benefit him, it just benefited you.
Correct.
And this is where he started your journey and your goals.
My journey, my goals, and many of the Latino journey and goals. He brought the Latino community to Addison, Illinois. There were no Latinos in there. I would say 5% of the Latino that first came into this community, which was a very nice community with a good school district. And he brought me there.
Wow.
So his wife, Stella Costapla, sold me the home. He brought them. He facilitated.
So maybe he is a saint. Maybe he is a saint.
We're not canonizing a saint. No, I haven't. I've had plenty of struggles with my TK. When I say he's my father figure, he's my father figure. Okay. I've had plenty of battles, the good and the bad. But I think that what he does is he taught people. Even how to. I didn't even know how to write a check. So he taught me.
And he would take the time.
He would take the time to train you, right? When you were a client.
Wow.
So that being said, I think that's where my career and my investments were made, and everybody that was around him did well. Everybody, it was not just me.
So I'm gonna fast forward right now, and then we're gonna go back, and because I really want people to understand this journey and how this journey not only ended with you, but how you've passed this on to others. That's really what's critical for here. But I'm just going to ask you a question, and you don't have to answer it if you're not comfortable answering it, because I know some people are sensitive about this. But where are you now in terms of your real estate ownership?
Well, they say that we have to know exactly how many doors we have, and I am not that good at keeping track.
So I know exactly how many doors I have, right? It's not that many, right? So you have so many that you sometimes lose track of how many you have.
Well, it's not that we have so many, but I can honestly say that we have enough doors out there where sometimes last night I was counting because I thought there might be a question that we were going to get asked. And it depends on whether we're looking at real estate not only in the United States, but what I've acquired now in Mexico too, because I've become an investor there myself.
Sure, yeah.
And in different states.
Do you have dual citizenship?
I now have dual citizenship.
Wow, interesting. Okay,
yes.
So you can purchase property there anywhere, basically.
Correct. But I can say that I'm financially independent. We are fortunate to say today that we celebrate almost being debt-free. We're 99.9% mortgage-free. And that to me is a big
But come
win.
on, tell us how many doors you have.
Okay, so so I can say that we had 68 residential doors and some commercial properties, some land, and business partner and beachfront destination in Mazatlan, Mexico.
Nice. I was there when I was in college. That was the last time I was there.
You got to come and visit. You got to come and visit my project so that you can tell me if you think if you're seeing what I'm seeing. But we've consolidated. We've sold some stuff and decided to build equity. That's where.
So you sold some of your assets because the market has been strong, which is when
Yes.
you're supposed to sell.
Yes.
Which is what people. I want to talk about
Yes.
that a little bit. You sold some assets and you paid off debt with them.
And I paid off.
Did you buy yourself any bling?
You know what? I didn't buy myself any bling. The one thing that TK taught us is that we live. I have my second coach, mentor, person to look up to, which is right by me, that says to live below my means. And I think that that's I can honestly say that I am simple.
Yeah.
But
you're free.
But I'm free.
Which is incredible.
But I'm free.
You're not bound by anything.
No.
You don't owe anybody anything. You can do whatever you want with your life.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, I splurge from time to time, but I know that at the first of the month, the same capital will be coming in from rents. So even if I have 1 month where I say, okay, I'm going to splurge, right? I'm going to take that trip with the family. 22 of us are going to go to Europe, and we're going to throw a party for my mother. Whatever it is that you want to do in life, you can do it, and know that on the first of the month, the residual income will come in.
And even beyond that, it's not just, the freedom, and I call it, and this all kidding aside, that I call it being in the position to live the life that you were destined to live, right? I really feel strongly about that. But also, we don't know what's coming around the corner. We don't know what emergency or what family member is going to have an unexpected need, right? So to be in a position to be able to take care of your family, help others, and make sure that no matter what is coming through the next door, you're going to be ready for it. That gives you a peace of mind that is extraordinary.
Yes. I was just telling Armando that. I said...
Armando Tam?
Yes, Armando Tam. I said, you know what? I am blessed to have the career that I chose. I've had some emergencies in the family. I've had to take some time off. My mother just fell and broke her arm and dislocated.
Oh, sorry.
And yes, she's doing well now. She had surgery. But I took 3 weeks completely off to attend to her.
To take care of your mom.
To take care of my mom. Yep. That is something that I wanted to do, and I had nobody to answer to. My clients, you build a good system, and they understand. My clients are my family, my friends. So they, if anything, I tell them, this is what's happening to me. I'm going to have somebody in the office attend to you. And a lot of them said, no, I'll wait around until you're back. Or, yes, it's fine. I'll have somebody else. But that's the beauty of building the relationships, I say, with your clients too.
Yeah. So I won't press you any further. Let's just say that you have dozens of doors,
for sure,
debt-free, and it provides you with enough income to be able to live the life that you were destined to live.
Yes.
So you're there.
Yes.
You're there. And you're still building, I'm sure, but you're there.
Yes, I can say there. Because
and you are a young woman. You are there in time to be able to enjoy it, to be able to take advantage of it. I'm not sitting across a 90-year-old person. I'm sitting across a person that's got a lot of life left in her, which is incredible. All right, I'm going to take you back a little bit, right? So TK required you as an agent to make at least one real estate investment or transaction per year.
Yes.
And you started this when you were 21 years old.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So now let's fast forward. You're a principal in the real estate company now. So
yes.
You're no longer just an agent.
No, I own it now. TK retired and I own it alone.
So you took over for him.
Yes.
Incredible. And you have agents now.
Yes.
How many agents do you have?
We have 24.
24 agents. And have you passed this process on to them?
Yes. Not only have we passed it, I say that
it's evolved.
Yes. TK's legacy continues.
Wow.
And we just honored him in Christmas for what he's given, not only us, but the community. And I say the one thing that he taught us has to be taught not only amongst us in the conference table, but amongst the general public, right? Because that's too good of a secret to be kept. I think we have to pay it forward. And what he taught us, we have to teach our clients. That's,
So not only do you share this with your agents, not only do you, I imagine, encourage or require them to invest in real estate, you also share these philosophies with your clients as
Yes.
well. So now I want to get into the specifics a little bit, right? So I've heard you tell us that he requires you to buy one investment property. Do you have some philosophy around your investments? Is it just buy, or is there some method to this?
there is a method to
Okay.
it. So every time we wanted to buy something, we needed to make sure that it was sustainable, right? We needed to sit down, do the numbers, and if that property needed to be carried for something, because let's face it, at the beginning where you're growing, you don't have the capital to put the 30%, the 40%. So you're starting with, as long as it breaks even, he said.
So you got to find a property that fits.
That fits.
You can't start
Yes.
off with a property that's draining
No.
money from you on a monthly basis.
Correct. It's got to be at least self-sufficient. You might.
How do you deal with the maintenance and stuff like that?
So
right?
you might have to feed the maintenance, right?
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff at the beginning.
What does that mean, feed the maintenance?
You need to carry that.
You might have to do it
might
yourself?
Have to put it yourself.
Oh,
At the
shit.
beginning, sometimes you have to do it yourself. I tell my.
I'm surprised my wife hasn't left me already because I can't fix anything in the house.
Well-
poor Omar. But poor Omar. I call Omar. He lives in Texas now. It's like, when are you going to be in San Diego? Because this is broken in the house. That's rude, man. I mean, I don't know, but
I'm gonna tell you a story that's a true story. When I started buying the multi-units, I had 3010 Bright. It was a 4-unit apartment building, and that to me is emotional because I went and bought the first 4-unit in Franklin Park in the area where, not the building where I lived at, but in the same region.
okay.
But I had to go, and at the beginning we would go and paint and remove stuff. So yes,
So
I'm
this
not gonna
isn't all
sit there-
glamorous.
I'm not.
This
gonna,
isn't all glamorous.
No, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it's 100% glamour. No, sometimes you have to roll up your sleeves and get involved and do some
And
of the
have
work.
you always used your own money, or do you sometimes have partners, or what's your philosophy around that?
At the beginning, we used our own money for the bigger things in life. Like if you're looking for, let's say, a $20 million shopping center or a $10 million.
Wait a minute, you purchased $20 million shopping centers?
Let me tell you how it went. TK puts partnerships together.
Okay,
And
okay.
then he would
I
say,
like it.
Who
wants in?
Who wants in?
Uh-huh.
And he would say, I remember specifically the first time he invited me to buy a big one. I came into the door of the office and he said, "Kid," he used to call me kid. He said, "Kid, sit down. There's this shopping center, and I need 5 of us. I have 4. Do you want to be the 5th?" And he told me what the numbers were, and I said, "No, I'm not the 5th, for sure." And he said to me, I said, "I'm not ready." He says, "You are. You are financially ready. You're just not mentally ready. You have to be ready there too." So
There's no getting around the fact that there is some risk involved.
yes.
And you have to find a way to manage that risk, because you don't want to be, irresponsible in the way you
Correct.
manage that risk. But it does take you out of your comfort zone a little bit. You got to be willing to do that.
Yes, you
And
got.
that's what he meant.
That's what he meant. And then you have to sometimes small sacrifices, right? That's what I call it. I realize that sometimes making small sacrifices to get.
I may not be able to go on vacation this summer.
Yeah,
but
to get a big win, and then celebrate your big wins, right? Because
How do you celebrate it?
okay, the day that I paid off my home, I said, I'm living in a 5,000 square foot home, very comfortable, and I
Nice.
said it's paid for, and then I said I want a big vacation.
Okay.
Right? So, and this is what you need to tell the clients too. You're making small sacrifices. Maybe you're not going to be able to go out to eat 3 times a week like you're used to. Maybe we're going to cut that down to 1 time. But trust me, there will be good wins. There'll be time to celebrate your small sacrifices.
And so let me tell you, let me kind of just sort of, because I'm trying to get this into a sort of a formula, which maybe not be fair and maybe it's not possible, but is this a 20-year plan? How do you express this to your clients and your agents, basically? Is it just a one-off thing, or you say, look, you got to be prepared to this process is going to take you 20 years or it's going to take you 30 years, but at the end of the rainbow, here's where you're going to be?
The way I call it is a custom-made suit, un traje hecho a la medida. because no circumstance is the same.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I
Fair
cannot
enough.
expect
The market is dynamic. It
the
changes.
market is dynamic and people are dynamic, right? We do not know what your household does not look like mine. So I cannot expect somebody who works at an industry that makes $14 an hour to make the same kind of investment that I'm expecting somebody that's CEO of Bank of America, right? So we have to make adjustments. So I tailor every single business plan together with my client.
So you sit down with them, you have a plan.
Yes, I have a plan.
So let's, in 3 minutes, do a plan for me. I'm a client, I'm buying my first house. What are you gonna tell me?
Okay, so I am going to interview you first and see how much money you spend a month, how much money you make. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna ask you, are you okay with me getting very intimate with you? Do you allow me to ask you some questions that might be uncomfortable? The only reason why I'm asking is because I want to make your goals and your business plan of where you are today, where you're going to be in 10 years.
But I just want to buy this house.
Right. If you give me about 20 minutes, I'll explain to you. And you, by all means, you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. I just feel that I owe to you to explain to you this presentation. Are you okay with giving me 20 minutes and seeing the presentation?
Yes.
So I'll show you this presentation and then I'll ask you. Are you okay? I'm gonna pretend you know me. You're lifelong, right? You are my close friend. I'm your aunt.
I'll tell you whatever you want to know.
Perfect. And I give you the same permission. You can ask me anything you want.
All right.
About myself.
Okay. Wow.
So now that we have this connection, are you okay with me asking? Okay. How many times do you go out a week?
Once a week.
Okay. That's good. You're good. How many vacations do you take a year?
One, if I'm lucky.
Okay. That's really good. How much income you take home? Let's see, monthly. What is your monthly income?
I net $3,500 a month.
Perfect. How much debt do you have? How many credit cards? How many trips to the stores? Ladies?
I have a car payment and,
so
other just expenses, but I try not to carry a lot of credit card debt.
Awesome. So, and how much rent do you pay?
I pay a lot. I pay half of my income to rent right now.
Okay. If I was able to get you a property that costs you the same amount or a little more, let's say $200-300 more than your monthly rent, would you be okay with that?
But I'd get to own the property.
But you get to own the property.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I understand that numbers are tight, right now. I may have to sacrifice a couple of short-term sacrifices for you to get you into this particular home. Are you willing to make some short-term sacrifices?
I suppose, yeah. That's got to be part of the deal.
We'll celebrate when we do.
Okay.
So then I go and I show them a property.
Okay.
A property that fits right then and there. I'll go in my computer, I'll go into the projector and show, look at this house. You are in a 2-bedroom home. You're paying $1,500 a month. I'm going to get you into this home that's 2 bedrooms. It's exactly where you're living, a little better, and you're going to pay $300 a month. But what I want you to, before you tell me yes or no, and we're going to look at a lot of them because we're going to fit the one that fits your needs. This is just an example, but I want you to do a math with me. Are you willing to do some math with me?
Yes.
Okay.
I was good at math in school.
Excellent. How many? So you pay $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
Times 12.
Yep.
How long have you been there?
2 years.
Okay. All right. So that's how much money in 2 years?
So that's $36,000.
$36,000. Excellent. If you left today.
I was good at math. Okay.
I see that. If you leave today, how much of those $36,000 are you taking with?
None.
Okay. What if you were a homeowner and you stayed 3 years? Because you won't be staying 2 years. My planning with you is that I don't wish to sell you one property. I wish to build a relationship with you. And together, we are going to grow together.
So you want me to be a real estate investor? I've never thought about that.
Well,
I want to buy a home, but now you're telling me about something bigger.
Yes. What if we buy this home and in 3 years from now you come and visit me and I say, let's revisit whether we want to sell this house or where we want to rent it and buy you a new one. What if we have the ability to buy a 2-unit apartment building? What if we buy a condo, wherever it is? All I'm telling you is there's a way for me to skip a process, skip one step, and if I can convince you to buy a 4-unit instead of a single-family house, live in it for 1 year, I might be able to get you into your dream home even quicker.
Wow. So you're going to help me with this.
Yes.
And you're going to show me the way.
Yes.
And I'm going to come back to you. So let's move forward with this transaction, but I'm going to hold you to this. I'm going to come back and see you in 2 years.
We're going to hold each other to it.
Oh. All right. So just to cut for a second. Do you still do this?
I still do.
Okay. So there's a philosophy amongst real estate agents that, once at a certain point, you have to stop dealing with buyers and you just deal with sellers.
To me, I get my high. Some people ask me, why don't you retire? Because my adrenaline goes up when I see the Lopez buying their Tesla, ordering their Mercedes, being debt free, having a second home in Florida that they can enjoy.
So this is where I want to cut to the chase here. Give me an estimate now. You don't know how many doors you have apparently, because you have so many, but just teasing. But I want to have a sense of how many agents have you mentored on this process and how many clients have you mentored to the point to where they're actually, if not where you are, certainly on their journey to getting there.
Well, I have one that's better than where I'm at.
Really?
It's a client.
Wow.
My pride and joy.
Wow.
Yes.
Latina?
Latinas.
No
Latinos.
way.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's Pascual and Sandra Gonzalez.
Wow.
Yes.
So you outed them right here on this podcast.
Yes. I honor them. I honor them and I look up to them.
That's
Yes.
incredible. So
Yes.
how many people have you touched?
I honestly say that my database is only 450 names in it, and they're repeat business. So I can say that's 450 families. And-
450 families have been
Yes.
impacted by this, plus agents, right?
Oh, yes, the agents too. Many agents. Some of my agents that are no longer with me still call me and ask me to check the property out and coach them.
So relationships are
Relationships.
critical to you. Obviously, you run
Relationships.
your business that way.
Yes.
I talk to different agents that have thousands of people in their database, but they couldn't possibly know them. My guess is that you know those 450 people in your database.
Very well.
You obviously know your agents really well. You probably know a lot about their finances, a lot about their personal business and their ambitions.
Yes.
And their families. So I mean that's just extraordinary. And you're one person. And you've already touched several hundred. I'm going to assume more than 500 families have been impacted by this. And, it started with TK. Let's give him, the proper recognition for that. But you've pushed it forward. And I imagine that there are other people, other agents, if not other family members, who are doing the same thing you're doing now and also impacting other people. Is that fair to say?
Very fair to say. If you work at TK, you believe in this practice.
So real estate, and this is where the essence of this conversation, right? Real estate is still, in your view, the primary wealth building vehicle for most families. Obviously, there's many others, investing in the stock market and buying businesses and flipping businesses and all this kind of stuff. Do you flip properties, by the way?
Very little.
Very little. So you buy and hold generally.
We buy and hold.
You buy and hold. Okay. So I just find that fascinating and it's incredible. And I think about how what you're doing can impact the Latino community nationwide. If more people adopted your principles, if more people ran their business the way you ran their business, closing that wealth gap in America for Latinos is very feasible. It won't happen overnight, which is another thing that I love to talk about, right? Because there's a quote from Warren Buffett that I always loved, which is, he has a very simple investment strategy. It's kind of like yours, only he does it in stocks. And he's built one of the biggest fortunes the world has ever seen. And somebody asked him, well, if your investment strategy is so simple, why doesn't everybody do it? You know what his answer was?
No.
His answer was, because nobody wants to get rich slow, right? And I think that's also applicable to you've been very patient. You've recognized that this isn't going to happen overnight. You're not going to be rich in a year. You're not going to be rich in 2 years. I imagine you don't tell your clients that this is going to get you rich in 2 years or 5 years or anything like that. This is a journey, and this is a process, and it is going to take time. But there's something special about real estate. And I think there's something special about real estate as it pertains to the Latino community.
Yes.
Latino community, they understand it. It's tangible. It has utility. It's not investing in a piece of paper. It's not something that they can't touch or understand. It is something very, very tangible and relatable. And I think that also the components that we know about real estate is that you can leverage it. Like you said, your mom could have purchased that first piece of property with $5,000, $10,000, $10,000 down, right, to buy a $110,000 property, 4-unit property. People don't understand how that can be leveraged, and you do it intelligently, obviously. And there's markets where it's hard, right? We all went through it in 2008 and 2012. How did your philosophy survive the recession, the Great Recession? That's gonna be the last question I ask you.
So my philosophy, well, it shook it, right?
We all got shook.
It shook, and I'm the first one to say that it taught me that leveraging wasn't the best all the time. So
Good.
Baby steps. That's why we correct some things. I had purchased a strip shopping center, and it was capping at 10%, and within a year and a half, it was 60% vacant, right?
Wow.
So if we weren't prepared for this, if I didn't have liquidity, if I didn't have other assets that were paid for, I wouldn't have been able to sustain that property.
Right.
That property is now very profitable.
Yeah. So you kept it.
I kept it.
Wow.
Yes, we
Wow.
survived it. We survived, yeah.
That's one of the things that I wrote about in a blog a couple of weeks ago, and that is these recessions tend to make savvy people, wealthy people, savvy people richer, and make less savvy people and less affluent people poorer. And the reason why is because, first of all, they're generally not prepared, people who are not savvy. Second of all, when there are difficult times, if they happen to have one asset, one piece of property, many times they have to sell that property at the worst time when the market is terrible to survive.
Yes.
And then somebody else is going to buy that property who is savvy, who does have the means, and when that property bounces back in value, they're going to reap the rewards, while the person who had to sell that property loses out in all those gains. And that cycle happens over and over again. So, Oralia, thank you for your time. This has been inspiring, enlightening. I hope it's been inspiring and enlightening to our listeners. I think there's a lot to learn. I'm going to get the chance to talk to a lot of people. I'm going to talk to billionaires. I'm going to talk to people who run hedge funds and stuff like that. But the fact is that more people are going to benefit from this conversation right here than all the conversations I'm going to have with those individuals. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Heaven, for this opportunity.